Okay, what's going on, y'all? This is Aubrey. I am here to talk about the solar eclipse in Scorpio that is literally happening today. Okay, you guys might have already felt this energy leading up to today's date. It's possible you felt the energies 3 days before today. It's possible that you're going to feel the energies 3 days after. And when I say feel the energies, I mean like, whatever events are to come from this solar eclipse, it may be something that happens 3 days from now. It may be something that has already happened. But regardless, overall, you're going to be feeling these energies of today's eclipse for the next 6 months. Okay. Now, for the last 2 years, well, give or take about a year and a half since 2021, November 2021, we've been in a new eclipse cycle of Taurus and Scorpio. And now we have finally reached the last chapter of this Taurus and Scorpio eclipse cycle. So, whatever has gone on in your life around the end of November 2021, whatever was happening around the end of April 2022, as well as, mid-May 2022, you are likely to see some similar themes play out, around today, and as well as the full moon eclipse in Taurus that will be happening in 2 weeks. So definitely make sure that you guys get out your pen and notepad. Okay, definitely make sure that you go to my website after watching this video so that you can go ahead and book a personal reading, because of course this is general, this is just the regular fluff for the collective, but of course you want to book a personal reading to figure out exactly how these energies will be playing out for you personally. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the intro. I feel like I need something. You tried to fight, but you can't escape me. My brain is racing for sanity. My heart is racing for clarity. Okay, here we are. Hold on, let me just double check the audio, make sure the audio is working. Okay. Okay, the audio quality might sound a little bit better now because I just realized that I was using my computer microphone and not my actual like professional microphone. So hopefully the quality is has improved. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and get into this. So basically the way that this is gonna work is this is going to be a whole sign video. And what I mean by whole sign is like I'm going to do all 12 signs within one video, and then I may or may not break it up into individual videos depending on the performance of this video. But we're going to get into the general description of what a solar eclipse is, what today's energy is supposed to be bringing, and then we're going to get into the individual 12 signs, right? So let's take it back to the beginning. Okay, this is a new moon and solar eclipse that is happening in Scorpio, right? Now, a solar eclipse occurs when the moon stands between the sun and earth, cutting off the light of the sun. This is what we typically think of when we use the word eclipse, with the moon covering the sun. Any eclipse is a significant event in the heavens. So, in truth, a solar eclipse is really just kind of like a new moon on steroids, whereas a lunar eclipse is kind of like also a full moon on steroids. They both have the strength of three moons, three full moons combined, right? And so an eclipse can bring news of, maybe the birth of a baby. It could bring an engagement or marriage. It could bring a promotion or career breakthrough, important travel, the signing of a vital business contract, or the start of one's own business, as well as, it could bring in some closed doors to where there might be, unfortunately, a death, or there could be a divorce or a death of a situation, especially dealing with this Scorpio energy, which we're going to get into. Scorpio rules life and death and transformation. So really, eclipses can be good or bad, but it's really about your perspective, and it really also ultimately comes down to how you are personally being affected by the planets and the transits and how everything looks in your own chart, right? So an eclipse can also bring the sale or purchase of a house. It could bring a move to a new home across the country, the acquisition or loss of a family pet. It could bring surgery, maybe an important health development. Maybe it bring a college graduation, or the eclipse may mark the start of your course of study. Eclipses sometimes bring on a divorce, maybe a newly published book. You get the idea, right? Monumental events, meetings and partings, or changes within your career may also take place at an eclipse. They are just usually dates that we usually long remember. Like, this is a time period where a lot of fated occurrences and fated events tend to happen. And no matter what occurs, it becomes evident that the universe is intent on moving you forward. So eclipses often mark a major turning point. Now, if nothing happens to you, it may be happening to friends and family around you, depending on the precise degrees of the planets in your chart. You know what I mean? Like this eclipse we have at Scorpio 2 degrees. So someone who has Scorpio in their chart at, let's say, like 20 degrees may not feel it as much because it tends to usually like really, really impact you when you're closer to the degree, usually within like 5 degrees either way. So it really also, like I keep saying, it depends on your chart, but it also depends on whether or not it's aspecting, any of your personal planets, right? Like, you may not have Scorpio or Taurus at 2 degrees, but maybe you have a sun planet, like your personal planet at 2 degrees, so it may aspect you in that way, right? Regardless, though, with all eclipses, something ends and then something else begins. So, solar eclipses tend to create new beginnings and bright new opportunities. Usually, they are exciting, often possible, and can bring news out of the blue. But let's just keep it honest, y'all. For some people, it can be hell. It really just depends, and it depends on your chart and your perspective. The ultimate goal is to push you forward. And sometimes it's through uncomfortability, especially depending on the sign and the sin. Like today, again, it's in the sign of Scorpio, and Scorpio is that sign that is not afraid to embrace the dark side and really, really go there. So uncomfortable situations could come up. And it may not be funny at first, but in hindsight, you may look back and realize, like, okay, I realized why that needed to happen. Or you might laugh and be like, okay, yeah, that was hell, but like, okay, like eventually you'll thank Scorpio's energy for, Now, each eclipse is in one family of signs. And that kind of advances the discussion that the eclipse first brings up to a higher, more sophisticated level, and it keeps doing so as each eclipse of that family arises until the matter is resolved. And then by then, you have evolved too. So again, think back to November, I want to say around 19th. Okay, just know the end of November. That is when we started the eclipse cycle, which started in the sign of Taurus, right? And then since then, we've had certain dates where it's going back and forth between Taurus and Scorpio, Taurus and Scorpio. So, it was the end of November 2021. Then on April 30th of 2022, it went into Taurus again. And then on May 15th, we had a full moon in the sign of Scorpio, right? So if you think back to those dates in your life, there are very specific things that have happened to you that are all kind of connected, right? Like, let's say, like, for example, end of November 2021, you realize, like, okay, my living situation isn't the best. I need to move, right? Cool. Sometime in between those next 6 months, you end up moving, da da da. Then you go through another eclipse in Taurus on April 30th, and then you're realizing, like, okay, oh, now I'm getting new roommates. Okay, cool. Then maybe, and I'm specifically speaking about like fourth house of home and 10th house of public career and public status, because everything works on an axis, right? So let's say around May 15th, that's when you realize, like, okay, this is a full moon in Scorpio eclipse. Like, okay, I've been so focused on my private life. Now when it comes to my public life, I'm realizing, like, how my private life from childhood has been holding me back in terms of my career. Like, I didn't realize I have all of this childhood trauma and just the inner workings of my home life, my home upbringing, that's been affecting my public life, so on and so forth. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's like a thread. Everything is connected, right? So by the end of all of these signs and all of these eclipses within these two particular signs, you will have evolved. And we are pretty much at the end of the Taurus Scorpio cycle before we move into Libra and Aries in March, right? So it's as if the universe knows that we can't possibly process all this information, and massive change, it needs us to do at once, right? So each eclipse will bring another development related in themes to the one that came before until the matter is finished, which usually happens over an 18, if not 24-month period. Now, as said, however, only eclipses that are mathematically significant to your natal chart will affect you, not the ones that are too far away from touching planets in your chart. Those may have a very mild effect or none at all. Okay, that goes back to the degree talk that I was speaking about. Again, like, if you have, like, if you don't have any planets or like anything in your chart that's around 2 degrees, like, then you may not be affected as much as, say, someone with a Scorpio moon that is at 2 degrees, or like a Taurus sun that is at like 6 degrees. That is why it's important for you all to book a personal reading, because these collective readings are meant to generally speak about what's happening to each and every sign, but really we have to dive deep into your chart and figure out your degrees and what's aspecting what, to figure out exactly how it's going to play out for you, right? Because we can only speak about certain themes and possibilities, but to get a much better indication, personal reading is needed. So definitely make sure that you go to thealigningsouls.com to book you a personal reading, so we can dive deeper into all of that. Okay. um yeah, let's continue. So take any message that you hear from an eclipse as non-negotiable and firm, accept it, and then move on. Okay, take notice of all news and signals you get near an eclipse and take them seriously, even if it comes as subjective, or maybe if it comes through as gossip. It's vital that you also guard your health if an eclipse falls within 5 days of your birthday, or if the eclipse falls almost exactly opposite your birthday. I can tell you that, like, for sure, I can tell you that, because my birthday is May 19th, and literally the week of May 19th, we had an eclipse on May 15th, which is obviously 4 days before my birthday. And bitch, I was fucking sick. Okay. And then I also remember, I don't know. I don't know if it was this year or last year, but I definitely also remember getting sick like 6 months to the eclipse. You know what I'm saying? So it's real fucking shit. It's real shit. So I'm speaking out there to who I don't know whose birthday is 6 months away from Scorpio. What would that be? Taurus. Yeah, I'm speaking to my Tauruses right now. Okay. Tauruses out there, and my Scorpios. Definitely take care of your health right now. Take care of your health right now, because you could definitely fall under some health issues right now. Now, eclipses almost always bring up all kinds of unexpected changes of direction, assuming your sun, moon, or a planet is touched. Again, occasionally it's possible that an important person to you will be eclipsed out of your life. I'm not gonna hold you. During one of the Sagittarius and Gemini eclipses in 2021, I had a best friend that was eclipsed out of my life, and then literally during the Taurus and Scorpio eclipses, they were brought right back. So it's no fucking joke. Like, it's literally no joke. Actually, I had two people. One of them I was really close to, and then another person I wasn't. And even if I like were to tell you my whole story and dive like super deep into my chart, you'll realize how it all played against my solar return, my Saturn return, and all of that. But the point is that yes, eclipses can um like take people out of your life. You know what I'm saying? So even if you're like dating right now and you're talking to someone and then you just don't hear from them again, and they ghosted you, just know that it's probably because of the eclipse. You know what I'm saying? And it's probably, for a reason. Okay. Doesn't necessarily mean that they won't come back, but it's just for a reason and a season, and you just kind of got to go with it. Right. Now, if an eclipse falls on your birthday or within 5 days of your birthday, the year that follows that particular birthday will be a critical one for you. Again, I can tell you that because we had the eclipse on May 15th. My birthday is May 19th. And yeah, these last couple of years have been very, very fucking critical. Okay. And I can tell you that, okay, personally. So during this eclipse time, you want to keep your schedule light and elastic. No matter what's on your agenda at the time, something else is going to come into demand immediate attention. This video was actually supposed to be posted a couple of days ago, if not yesterday, but I have this eclipse going through my 10th house, and I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I was nervous to walking on pins and needles because I'm like, what's gonna happen? And I don't wanna, you know what I mean? We talking about Scorpio, South Node energy, you know what I mean? Like, I don't wanna dedicate all this work to like putting these videos out here for y'all, and then the universe is like, okay, now it's time to walk away and say goodbye to this forever. You know what I'm saying? So I was kind of nervous walking on pins and needles, but during eclipse time, if you can, it's probably the best time for you to take off work, or like just just don't do anything that you don't normally do. Like, move how you normally move, but like just kind of rest, and take it easy. You know what I'm saying? So during this series of eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio, which happened from November 2021 to October 2023, we are learning about the balance of give and take. Circumstances may be such that we are pushed to see and consider others' values rather than expect others to share the same perspective as us. As well, we need to discover our own needs and values as individuals. So, the autumn 2022 eclipse season includes two eclipses. We have this partial solar eclipse in the sign of Scorpio at 2 degrees, which is happening literally right now. And then we have a total lunar eclipse in Taurus that is spanning from November 7th to November 8th, depending on where you're located in, in the world. Now, the solar eclipse of today aligns with the new moon, and it actually happened this morning from around like 4 a.m. to around like 8 a.m. So the energy is already here and already active, and you probably already been feeling the shadow energy leading up to this, because eclipse energies again are very fucking potent. So whenever an eclipse happens, we can expect a wake up call from the universe. Being that this is a solar eclipse, we're being asked to start anew. So this could mean that we're, being let go of situations that are no longer serving our highest interests, with the purpose of moving towards fresh starts. Remember, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Okay, you've heard the analogy before, like when one door closes, another one opens. So yeah, that's why I want to stress to you guys, like, it's not necessarily about like super really good things happening or super really bad. Like, it just depends on the perspective. Like, some of you guys could be getting proposed to right now. Obviously, a super huge thing, especially if you want marriage, but it may call for you to move cross country from home, right? And it may not be easy. You know what I mean? Like that, like it could be a really, really great beginning and a really, like, not shitty, but like uncomfortable ending, right? But basically, the cosmos are asking us to shed what is no longer useful to our lives, embrace that energy, literally let go or be dragged. Okay. Now, a solar eclipse is a supercharged version of a new moon that often brings in this element of fate. They speed up timelines and bring about destined events, and others coincide with major turning points in our life. In a sign of Scorpio, this new chapter may have us also reflecting on what it is that we need to release in order to begin again. Because again, this is a eclipse that is happening within the South Node. North Node is all about our destiny and where we're headed. South Node is more about what it is that we need to let go, karma, and fate. Okay. So during this time, we need to ask ourselves if there are any energies, any habits, any situations, or even any people that we're ready to let go of and move on from. Now, this can be conscious and it could also be unconscious. Okay. But this is a necessary step, because we must first have space to fill before we can call in something fresh and new. And so this eclipse is, who is blowing up my phone? One second. My God, that was fucking annoying. Okay. So let's get back into this, right? So jumping back in, like I said, we must first have to have the space to fill before we can call in something fresh and new. So this eclipse invites us to purge what no longer is serving us. And although scary, it could be beneficial to be ruthless here. So the only way we can move forward with ease is if we cut off any dead weight that has been dragging us down. So take it from somebody who literally has Pluto and Scorpio, and in my 10th house, I've had to build, tear down, and rebuild and rebrand my career path so many goddamn times. And it's never easy, but it adds to the overall end goal. And this is somebody who was a graphic designer in the industry for celebrities. Then I started YouTube and was doing entertainment. Then I needed to rebrand into story times. Then I took a break from that, came back doing this channel, which was all about tarot. Okay, now I'm doing astrology. Now I'm back into the entertainment shit. Like, and it just feels like you're constantly rebuilding and just all over the fucking place. But in the end, it fucking makes sense, because regardless of what part of my journey I look at, there's a piece of the puzzle that I've taken from each that adds to the overall image and an idea of who I'm supposed to be. Right. So that's kind of just how to go about this eclipse, because this new moon solar eclipse is also aligning with Venus and Scorpio, and it will tone down the intensity by bringing in a sense of harmony and peace. So it's best to make decisions about relationships, love, creativity, and money. Focus on these aspects of your life during this transformational time. What do you want to change? What do you want to continue moving forward with? The energy here is potent, so don't miss out on using it to your advantage to help move things along, or simply stop it dead in its tracks. And this particular eclipse also happens to be taking place again along the north. I'm sorry, again, along the south node. The October 2022 solar eclipse will encourage every zodiac sign to release all of those unresolved emotions, doubts, and fears. Okay, so Now, the way that you want to watch this is for your individual sign. Um, Child, I'm all over the place. Now, the way to watch for your individual sign will depend on what houses you have Scorpio and Taurus in. Like, for example, I am a Capricorn rising at 29 degrees, but my chart is set up as Aquarius rising. Therefore, I personally won't resonate with a Capricorn chart or a Capricorn reading necessarily. I mean, I will because I'm a Cap stellium, but I don't have Taurus and Scorpio where it should be in a Capricorn chart because my Capricorn rising is at such a late degree. So I have to watch Aquarius rising, right? So Aquarius rising videos resonate even more with me. So you want to watch your rising sign, but more specifically, wherever houses Scorpio and Taurus is what's going to matter the most. You can also check your sun and moon signs for a broader picture. But keep in mind, as I keep saying, transits are general energy. So to figure out how this eclipse will impact you personally, depending on your birth natal chart and aspects, please go to my website, thealigningsouls.com, to book you a personal reading. This is general, but you're gonna want to know what's going on. Do not fuck around and play with this eclipse energy. Like, this is big shit that we're talking about. Again, you could move, you could get divorced, you could start a relationship. You know, those of you guys that are looking for a twin flame, now is when you guys might go into union. You can have a kid right now. Like, so many pivotal things happen during eclipses, and you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared. Okay. I can personally speak to the last set of eclipses with Sag and Gemini. That's when I lost a lot of my friends. They all moved away. That's when I became extremely independent. That's when I detached from my family. And then as soon as it moved into Taurus and Scorpio, like, my home life has been all over the fucking place, all over the fucking place, and like really trying to figure out my career and get to the point where I need to be. So I can tell you personally, these eclipses are no joke. And so every 2 years, your life has a theme. Okay. Book your personal reading so we can figure out what's going on with you. Okay. So let me go ahead and mark this down, jot this down for my Aries. Okay, so getting into this, this is going to be for my Aries rising, or those of you guys that have Scorpio in your eighth house. Okay, so the eighth house is the most taboo house of the zodiac. They say that only two things are certain in this life, which is death and taxes, and both are actually ruled by the eighth house. So add sex to the mix, and you've kind of got the gist of what the eighth house is, right? This house governs transformative encounters with primal forces in your life, birth and death, the occult, surgery, and emergent of energies that happens when you have sex or take out a loan. So you can expect to get deeply involved with someone when the eclipse hits this house. Intense experiences like the birth of a child could be in store. You know, you might be concerned with a business merger or be dealing with an inheritance, a joint account, taxes, or loan repayments. All of these are symbols of what happens when you get irrevocably merged and entangled with outside forces. Transformations happens, okay? And the eighth house deals with that, which is right across from the eighth house is the second house of your personal esteem, your own resources, energy, and money. And it's no accident that the eclipses are transiting both of these houses, right? So this may uncover unresolved emotion when it comes to fully trusting the people around you. Asking for help doesn't necessarily make you weak, especially since others don't hesitate to rely on you. So now is the time to address any fears that you may have with getting close to people. Have you been unintentionally pushing other people away? If so, Aries, this eclipse is the ideal time to get to the bottom of these issues. In order to have the deep connections that you crave, you have to let others close enough to really see the real you, Aries. Okay? Now, moving it along to my Taurus rising, or my Tauruses with Scorpio in the seventh house. Now, Taurus, Taurus rising, and people with Scorpio in seventh house. This is going to be all about relationships, right? The seventh house rules other people in your life, marriage, business partnerships, as well as enemies, competitors. You can be sure that your relationships will change dramatically when an eclipse hits the seventh house in your horoscope. You could get married. You could break up. You could get divorced. You might welcome a child that totally changes the dynamic between you and your partner, or you might meet somebody new and enter into a serious relationship, whether it's professional, personal, soulmate, twin flame. Your relationship status is very likely to change with an eclipse in the seventh house. So it depends on what's needed in your life at that time. And as you change your relationship status, so you can change your identity, maybe even reinvent yourself, often changing your appearance and attitude, or maybe even taking on a new home. And so we are back within the first house, which is diametrically opposite the seventh. It could also be a professional partnership that leads you to view yourself in a new light, or a competitor who puts you through your paces, forcing you to maybe train harder, for instance, and train your body. Now, this eclipse is going to be a big one for you. Okay. It's going to be a very big one for you in your relationships. The sun and moon, along with your chart ruler Venus, is what's forming this eclipse. And so this event is bound to illuminate any fears or doubts that you have when it comes to your connections. And so this is ideally a great time to unpack some of these feelings. In order to experience depth in your dynamics with others, you may have to release the hesitations you have when it comes to expressing your emotions. The right people will not be driven away by you opening up a bit. Think about that, y'all. Because I actually have a best friend who is a Taurus rising, and I'm a Taurus sun, Taurus moon. And I've personally been talking to them like the last year and a half about like just letting go and opening up, because I know for like a lot of Taurus risings, either you entered into a new relationship or a lot of you left a relationship around the time that we got into this Taurus eclipse cycle, around the end of either 2021 or the end of November 2021. And, definitely speaking to my friend, they've definitely gone through a lot and have been in a, oh, fuck love, give me diamonds. I don't want to fuck around with any relationship anymore. I don't trust anybody, da da da. And this eclipse is likely going to bring up those emotions and make you really dive deep and go into a place of like, no, but why do you feel that way? Who hurt you? What does it stem from? How much of what you're feeling is actually your baggage, or are you carrying other people's baggage? Like, a lot of that is going to come up. So just don't be afraid to go there when it does come up. For my Geminis, okay? For my Geminis, this is going to be for Gemini risings, sun and moon, but particularly risings or anyone that is having Scorpio transit through your sixth house. Let me go ahead and change the thing on screen. But yeah, this is either for my Gemini rising ascendants or for those of you that have Scorpio placed in your sixth house. So the sixth house is not that much fun at all. Okay. It's literally the house of like work, discipline, daily chores. It's also the house that symbolizes your health, especially as affected by your daily routine. And so when the eclipses hit the sixth house, you might start a new job, maybe learn a new skill, or embark on a new diet and exercise regimen to improve your overall health and lifestyle. But never underestimate the power of the sixth house in your life, because it's literally the little things that you do every day. It's the work you do, it's how you care for yourself, as well as the thoughts that you think. So these things could determine your health, your lifestyle and your overall quality of life. That's essentially what the sixth house is your quality of life. And so having an eclipse here could really bring things into light. Like, okay, you think you're living a life, or you think you're going to be able to drink and smoke forever and party and this, that, and the third. And an eclipse could be like, no, baby, you need to slow it down. You need to chill. Like, you could almost lose your life. Or like, maybe if you're the one at work that's constantly, you know, doing overtime or picking up other people's shifts and shit like that, and eclipse in his house could be like, no, you need to slow it down before you fucking kill yourself from stress. Like, relax. So don't take this lightly, Geminis. Do not take this lightly. Okay. In the sixth house is where you find the power of daily repetition to improve your efficiency and well-being. And so when an eclipse hits the sixth house, it's time to put your life under the microscope. Are you living well? Is your health suffering, or do you hate your job? The eclipses will soon change all of that and teach you some new habits. Now, across from the sixth house lies the 12th house, and that's where you switch off from the daily hustle and bustle and get some rest, which you might be forced to do when the eclipses hit this pair. Okay. Now, this could bring powerful shifts in your routine. If you've been exercising too much control in your daily habits, it may be time to make some necessary adjustments. While having disciplined practices and rituals is essential, it's also important that the activities that you're partaking in aren't doing more harm than good. You're going to want to use this day to take a closer look at where you've been hesitant to make some changes to your day to day life. Just because a routine is familiar does not always mean it's effective. Give yourself the space to switch up your habits. Okay. Now, moving on to Cancer risings. Okay. To my Cancer risings, this is going to be occurring inside of your fifth house. Okay. So this is for Cancer sun, mainly Cancer risings, or those that have Scorpio placed within your fifth house. Okay. So for you guys, the fifth house is the house of true love, joy, creative self expression. This is like your childlike house, right? It's the most fun house in your horoscope. It's also where you have lots of sex, where you make babies, but also where you unlock the window of your heart. And it's in the fifth house that you fall in love, be it with a person or a hobby, and where you express this love. But none of this can ever happen unless you take a risk. And so when the eclipses hit this house, you have only one question to ask yourself. Are you taking that risk? Are you willing to open up to love and joy? Wearing your heart on your sleeve and sharing your talents means you have to face rejection. But what's the alternative? Because living in fear of rejection only brings misery. And so ask yourself, what brings you joy? Then go after that. Now, when the eclipses are in the fifth house, you might find yourself freshly in love or passionate about a new project or hobby. And so the cosmos forces you to take a risk and follow your heart, because across from the fifth house is the 11th house, which is what happens when you decide to express yourself. That's where you find companionship, community, and the rewards that come from letting your heart shine through. Okay. And as the sun and moon come together to form this eclipse, you're being called to review any fears, doubts, or unresolved emotions pertaining to your creative and intimate worlds. If you've been hesitant to share that passion project, now is the perfect time to address the emotions tied to that hesitation. What's been holding you back from letting your artistic pursuits be seen and acknowledged? You may also notice strong emotional feelings tied to sexual pursuits arising. So, whether it's a new or old romantic interest, this solar eclipse is bound to unravel any feelings that you have been suppressing, Cancers. Okay. So, do not be surprised if you find yourself going towards someone that, you never thought you'd end up with, like a soulmate type, or you have that type of energy approach you. Right now is a very auspicious time for Taurus risings, Scorpio risings, Cancer risings, and Leo risings, as well as Aquarius risings, to form partnerships and get into relationships. So do not be surprised if that is something that happens for you. Okay. Now, moving it along to my motherfucking Leos. Okay, this is gonna be for my Leo risings. Okay, or those that have the solar eclipse happening in Scorpio in your fourth house. Okay, if you are a Leo rising or a Scorpio in your fourth house, this is for you. Now, the fourth house in astrology is at the bottom of your chart at the root. Fourth house is literally like the house of home. Okay, house of home, childhood. It's symbolically the midnight hour of the sun, hidden in secret, your own private personal space. This is your home and family life. It's also your roots, any land or state you own, your parents, your heritage, your country of origin, your ancestors. Needless to say that when the eclipse hit this part of your horoscope, the ground shakes quite a bit, right? You might experience changes at home or with a parent, or you might sell or buy property. This is your chance to refurbish your life from the ground up, reconnect to your roots, and redefine who you are deep inside. And as your whole inner world changes and you start building your life on a new foundation, you'll find that your external goals also change. Now, these are represented by the 10th house of career right across from the fourth. So, as you become a parent, for instance, or decide to take care of one, this could lead you to change your career or review your professional goals. And so, as eclipses hit the 10th and 4th house together, these determine your overall orientation in life. Okay. Like I said at the beginning, I am a Capricorn rising with an Aquarius chart. So, Aquarius and Leo are on the same axes, going through fourth house and 10th house changes. So I listen, a lot of changes within the home. Some of you guys could be moving. Some of you guys could be deciding to work from home. Some of you guys could be leaving a job to become like a caretaker for a parent. Maybe there's a new addition to a home, maybe new roommates, maybe a new child. Maybe there's a job that forces you to move away from home, right? Or maybe you need to leave a job to go back to your childhood home, right? Any of that could be happening while this eclipse is in your fourth house of family, because it's going to reveal some hidden emotions in your home life. Whether you've got some unfinished business with a relative or you've been thinking about relocating, your private world is a top priority right now. So it's important to address your feelings head on, Leo. It doesn't make you weak. Just know that it does not make you weak. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and move into Virgo. This is going to be for my Virgo risings or those that have Scorpio in the third house. Okay. My Virgo risings or those that have Scorpio in the third house. Okay. Now, for you guys, with the third house, we're in the realm of learning, networking, and communications. Once the eclipse hits the house, your mind comes, once this eclipse hits this house, your mind becomes alive with new ideas and a thirst for knowledge. You might do like a mini course, maybe read a bunch of books or watch videos or join in with people who are intellectually stimulating. Now, this house also represents everything that is familiar within easy reach, like your neighborhood, your siblings, your colleagues, or classmates. You can also expect many changes in your day to day relationships with the eclipses in the third house. And as you think differently and speak differently, you also connect with people differently. Maybe you meet new and exciting people when eclipses are in a third house, and maybe you'll even travel a lot, especially if that's not something that you usually do. Again, eclipses are all about unexpected, chaos. Okay. And so all of this eventually expands your horizons and takes you right across to the matters of the ninth house, which is opposite the third. And it questions about what you actually believe, and it questions you to speak your truth. So as the sun and moon conjoin in Scorpio along with Venus, it's your skills and your ideas and your methods of communication that are going to be highlighted. You're somebody who tends to adhere firmly to your personal thoughts and opinions, but on this day, you're going to be called to release any mindsets that have been rooted in fear and keeping you stagnant. It's also a great day to journal or write your thoughts down to better understand any feelings that haven't been given an outlet. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and move on to my Libras. Okay. Let me go ahead and dot this down. This is going to be for my Libra rising or those that have Scorpio in the second house. Now, the second house in astrology represents your finances and your personal self value and self worth, right? It's quintessentially the house of money and finances. So we use money for energy to eat and survive. Now, the second house also represents your sense of self worth and values, what you quote unquote have to give. This again is reflected in how you treat and appreciate yourself or not, but also in a way that you use money and time. That is, the people you choose to hang out with and the things you buy. And so once an eclipse hits the second house, you can expect major changes in all these things, often with the effect of boosting your strength and self confidence. Now, you might change the way that you earn your living, the way that you treat your body, or the value that you place on yourself and your relationships. Transits through this house could also affect your weight as an energy store. Maybe because right across from the second house is the eighth house, which is all about how you share yourself, your money, and your energy. And so as you make changes in the value you place on what you've got, so do your relationships change, right? This could be highlighting your relationship with your money and your resources and prompt you to, maybe reconsider how you've been potentially holding yourself back in your finances. If you've been operating from a scarcity mindset when it comes to what you have, now is the perfect time to work through those feelings. Whether you're being called to let go of a material position or a shift in financial priorities, consider what your relationship to money looks like. Some of you guys could also be maybe leaving a job to start a new job that pays better, or maybe you have a high paying job that maybe you're leaving for a job that offers you a better day-to-day life. Things like that could definitely come up. There could be an unexpected inheritance as well as unexpected expenses that also come up during this time. Okay, so just take note of that. Now, going on to the star of the show, we have Scorpio. Okay, this is for my Scorpio risings out there and those with Scorpio in the first house. Okay, the star of the show, Scorpio risings. This is going to be all about personal development. Self recognition is essential to self esteem and growth. Acknowledgement of a weakness is as important to development as the recognition of strengths. No person can exist without some form of weakness. So, some people experience identity crisis or ruminate on self doubts as part of the growth process. The eclipse's influence is one in which the individual realizes that personal potentials can be developed and expresses them more fully. Self knowledge, self confidence, and self enrichment can lead to an expansion of personal horizons for those who respond positively to this eclipse. A negative reaction can block growth potentials and give rise to arrogance and self gratification. Now, people that are too satisfied with the self as they are fail to realize what it is that they have to become or what it is that they've already became, right? So the first house is where you find your ascendant, i.e., the star sign that was rising at the time of your birth. It governs your appearance, your name, your wardrobe, your overall look, attitude on life. Needless to say, once the eclipses hit this house, you can expect some major changes in these departments. Things happen that make you suddenly see yourself in a new light. Maybe even want to, start to want different things. Okay. Often you might change your appearance, maybe color your hair, start to exercise more, or you might even change your name. Across from the first house is the seventh house, which rules your relationships, and the two are connected. When eclipses hit the first house, they also hit the seventh house. And so you will find that as you reinvent yourself, others immediately start reacting differently to you too. You might change your name, you might change your title, your hair, and appearance, and suddenly transform the whole way in which others address you and how you plug into the world, leading you to establish new relationships and maybe even create some rivalries, right? This is a very big day for you, Scorpio, because this is happening in your first house of self. So this eclipse is seeking to propel you forward, but in order to make progress, it'll be important to consider what behaviors you've been partaking in that have been holding you back. Now, as a cautious, more reserved sign of the zodiac, you tend to keep your cards close to your chest. But this can very easily prevent you from experiencing emotional death in relationships. You want to allow yourself to get to the root of your affairs, Scorpio, because they're likely holding you back from expressing yourself fully. Okay. Now, moving it along, we're going to go ahead and get into the reading for Sag, for my Sagittarius risings, or those that have Scorpio in the 12th house. Bear with me as I go ahead and jot this down. But this is for my Sagittarius risings and those that have Scorpio in 12th house. Okay. So the 12th house is the very last house in your horoscope and the most mysterious of all. The place to hide something is in plain sight. Okay. And rightfully so, for that's exactly what's going on in the 12th house. Things are usually very well hidden for you, but obvious to everyone else, such as, your repossessions, your subconscious patterns, for instance, which secretly run your life. Okay. So when the eclipses hit this house, it's time to relinquish control, to let go. In the extreme case, you might experience loss or end up in hospital or under house arrest and be forced to let go. This teaches you to withdraw your attention from the external world, which is what was needed to make you see what was right in front of you all along. And so, 12th and 6th house, which lies across from it, work in tandem, okay? Healing body and soul and weaving the tapestry of your life. Really exciting things can also happen as the eclipses transit through the 12th. You might experience a spiritual awakening, a surge in libido, or incredible creative inspiration. Again, what happens then? Well, you shut yourself away from the world so that you can make the most of it. And so the universe rolls. Me personally, I've gone through a transit in my 12th house and 11th house, and yeah, mm-mm, mm-mm. Definitely felt isolated. Definitely felt like I was alone, but it was all to force me into my you know, independence because I also have, my Saturn return going on right now. I have Sun square Saturn, Saturn in my first house, square my Sun in my fourth house. So yeah, the eclipses definitely set me down, definitely made me realize who my friends were, definitely took a lot of people from me, and just really forced me into a place of independence, but it was needed to get to where I am now. Okay, so Saggies, listen. When it comes to today, this is illuminating your 12th house of isolation and withdrawal, bringing awareness to your habits and your mental health. So if you've been exercising an unhealthy level of control or extremism when it comes to your behind the scene practices, consider where you need to make some changes. Whether it's time to unplug from social media or schedule a chat with your therapist, your mental health is a top priority. Okay. Now, moving on to my Capricorn risings. Moving on to my Capricorn risings, or those that have Scorpio in the 11th house. So, Capricorn risings, the 11th house is what you aspire to in this world and what you dream of. It shows you the people that you want to be like, to befriend, and be surrounded by. But it also shows you the groups that you want to belong to. Okay. It's the house of friendship and community on a basis of shared goals and ideals. This is an outgoing sociable house where you network and connect with people at large, okay, or over Facebook, social media, okay, because 11th house is a social media placement, okay. But it's all about pursuing a common cause, okay? It's also where you want to contribute to the world and make a difference. Now, once the eclipses hit the 11th house, you could really get passionate about pursuing a dream. Maybe you make new friends during this time and meet people who have the same goals as you, or maybe you find that you need a new dream because the old ones are long dead and gone, okay? But as you find a sense of social connection, your heart lightens and you're willing to take more risk in life to express your heart. And so you might fall in love with one of your new friends. Okay, that's possible. Or maybe you even decide to pursue a new hobby and shine in special ways, which is all the territory of the fifth house, which is right across from the 11th house. So as the sun and moon are linking up in your 11th house of friends and social groups today, you're going to be called to do some releasing when it comes to your community. Whether you've outgrown a friendship or have been suppressing self-doubt or fear, this eclipse is a perfect time to address any intense emotions you've been feeling. In order to achieve in-depth connections, it's important that you allow yourself to trust the people that you surround yourself. Okay? And some of you may not trust them. Okay? So don't be surprised if they get eclipsed out. Okay? Because if you can't trust them, Capricorn, let them go. Moving on to my Aquariuses. Okay? This is going to be for my Aquarius risings and those that have Scorpio within the 10th house. Okay? Like I said, I'm an Aquarius rising. The eclipse is hitting my 10th house. Okay? And the 10th house is your midhaven. Okay? Which is the highest point of the sun as it crosses the sky. And it's also where you shine in life. It is your calling, your vocation, your most public and visible force and face in this world, your profession, and your career. It's also about your public status, okay? It's a pretty big deal when eclipses hit this house as they bring the changes to your overall life direction. That's really what it's more so about, is not necessarily always career, but it's just about your life's direction, period. So you might experience dissatisfaction with your present goals and end up changing careers during this time, or you could get married or become a parent. Okay, maybe giving you a whole new load of responsibilities. I know for me, the last time that we had a solar eclipse in Scorpio, which was like November 2013, I became a parent, like literally almost down to the day. Okay, I know when we had the solar eclipse back in like 2003, that's like when I really started discovering my psychic abilities and astrology. And that's when I really got heavy into like career writing and things like that. So, I'm hoping that this eclipse kind of plays to those themes. Okay. It would be nice to get married. It would be nice for my career to pop off. Okay. But, just giving you a little bit of background about me, I definitely get it. Aquarius risings, like I get it. Or those of y'all that have Scorpio in your 10th house, I get it. Okay. The 10th house is the house of responsibility. Okay. It's the responsibility to play your part. It's the mask that you wear, the role that you play in the world. And once the eclipses hit this house, you might decide that you're ready for a different one. Okay. Just as the 10th house is right at the top of your horoscope, the fourth is at the very bottom, and the two are always activated together by the transiting eclipses. For instance, as you get married, change careers, or get hot in pursuit of your goals, maybe you relocate, maybe you neglect your family, maybe you leave the parental nest. Okay. You guys could decide, okay, there's this dream career that I want, but it's going to force me to leave my childhood home. Or maybe I have to leave my dream job and relocate to my childhood home. Or maybe I want to get married, but in order to get married, we have to move to Africa. Like different things like that could be playing out right now for you, Aquarius risings. Okay. Your career is a top priority. So as the solar eclipse is taking place today, now is the time to release any unresolved emotions relating to fear, caution, or scarcity regarding your professional life. This eclipse is looking to propel you forward into new opportunities, but before that can take place, you'll also have to cut the debt weight. Don't be so afraid to fail that you keep yourself stagnant. Change can be a good thing. And so last but not least, we have Pisces. Last but not least, we have Pisces risings, or those of you guys that have Scorpio in your ninth house. Let me go ahead and jot this down. Okay. So for my Pisces rising, or those of you guys that have Scorpio in your ninth house, the ninth house contains all the things out there in faraway places, exotic, unfamiliar, and it represents foreign travel and getting an education, which used to be the same thing before there were so many universities. Now it's where you expand your horizons and open your mind. The ninth house also represents law, religion, the high halls of academia, which is where the higher mind lives. So it's your principles in life. Now, taken to the extreme, it can result in dogma, which is what happens when you think you've seen everything and know everything. The good news, though, is that should this happen, you are sure to end up with pie on your face once the eclipses arrive in this house. Now, the eclipses in the 9th house shake you out of your comfort zone and introduce you to totally unfamiliar, unsettling experiences and ideas to make you reconsider your entire outlook on life. And so, as you come across the foreign cultures and unfamiliar beliefs, your mind is stimulated to keep learning and exploring, activating your 3rd house, which represents the facts and the man on the street, and which lies right across from the 9th. And so the cosmos has a built-in way to bring you back down to earth in all its nitty gritty. Okay. Now, on October 25th, the solar eclipse in Scorpio will bring powerful shifts to the forefront when it comes to your relationships with knowledge, wisdom, and spirituality. If there's been a specific belief or mentality that's been holding you back, release it. Address any fear surrounding a shift in beliefs head on. Pisces, especially if you're looking to continue to grow and evolve spiritually. The unknown can be scary, but it's better than letting fear keep you stuck. Okay? So listen, y'all, this marks the end of this video. Okay? This marks the end of this video. I want everybody to be safe during this eclipse season. We definitely have more transits that are going to be coming up that are largely going to be affecting us. We have the solar eclipse in Scorpio today. We have the full moon lunar eclipse that is not going to be playing with anybody. That's going to be happening around November 8th, which is also conveniently around election time. So definitely, please, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you watched the appropriate timestamps. But please, definitely make sure that you go to my website, thealigningsouls.com, and book you a reading. If you've made it to this point, if you've made it to the outro, I am offering personal readings right now for 50% off, okay? All details on that will be in the description box, okay? So check the description box to get 50% off for personal readings. Valid until whatever it says in the description box. And yeah, because just because, we did this little reading doesn't necessarily say how it's going to be aspecting you personally, okay? How it's going to be affecting you personally, okay? Because whether or not you have Scorpio that's close to 2 degrees in your chart, you may have the eclipse hitting your sun, okay, which can instantly put you in a spotlight, or maybe bring up, issues with a father figure. Maybe the eclipse is hitting your moon, which could cause you to literally jump into a relationship or move across the country or move because of a relationship. If it's hitting your Mercury, you could have news about you spread, gossip spread about you, maybe, a book published or something. Like, if it's Venus, it could be aspecting, your wealth and comfort. Like, it's so many different things that could be happening. But the only way to truly know how it's going to be affecting you personally is to book a personal reading. So definitely go to thealigningsouls.com, which is on screen, to book your personal website. And I'm book your personal website to book your personal reading. And yeah, it's 50% off. For those of you that are interested, okay? All of the readings are 50% off, not just eclipse readings, but just readings period are 50% off, all right? So I love each and every one of you guys. I'm just here to align you guys to your higher soul, or whatever the fuck I used to say in my outros. And yeah, I love you. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye now. So before I let y'all go, make sure that you head on over to patreon.com/AligningsOuls for extended readings and exclusive videos. Members also receive major discounts and savings on personal readings. And speaking of personal readings, I do have a website where I offer those services. Now listen, girl, these videos are meant to be general, but to find out all of what's going on with you and your life with Shutty, definitely make sure that y'all head on over to thealigningsouls.com to book you a reading with me, ARIES. ASAP. And make sure that you sign up for the mailing list so you never miss a notification again, girl. I love you all for watching and subscribing. Bye now. I feel like I need some therapy. You tried to fight, but you can't escape me. My brain is racing for some sanity. My heart is racing for your clarity.